The long wait for Euro 2020 is finally over. In the build-up to the big kickoff, we are doing something special. We have scoured the Twitterverse to find a representative from each of the 24 nations competing in this summer's European Championships. We will be recording a preview with each representative who will be sharing views on their nation's hopes and expectations throughout the tournament, and most importantly, the fantasy assets we should be looking out for. Welcome to Euro 2020 Happy Hour. Hello and welcome to our Euro 2020 preview series with myself, Sham, otherwise known as FPL 2 Guys 1 Cup on Twitter.
And myself, Rob, otherwise known as FPL Panda.
Rob, we've got another guest and they are representing a nation that won the Euros in 1992, and that is Denmark. And Morten, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Evening.
How are you?
I'm doing great, and you?
Great, good stuff. Oh, Morten, thanks for joining us tonight. Before we start, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself, what football team you support, where you're from, if you play FPL?
Yeah, I'm 36 and from Copenhagen, the capital, and I support Liverpool and then the local FC Copenhagen team.
Nice. And you play FPL?
I do. I've been playing for 6 years, and I also play the UCL and then some national Danish fantasy games as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about Denmark. That's why we're here. So how did you guys do in qualification?
I mean, we were in for a rough start, getting 3-0 down in Switzerland, and then with 6 minutes left, we drew 3-3, which was very undeserved. And then we had some easy games versus Gibraltar, and then 2 draws against Ireland, and a win and a draw against Georgia. So we undefeated, but too many draws, I guess.
And what was the feeling after that qualification? Was it a case of you should have done better, or was it you were happy with finishing second? Or
we should have done better in the games versus Ireland and the draw against Georgia, but satisfied to go through. One thing to mention is after the qualification and the COVID postponement, we switched coach as well.
Okay, that's key. So have you guys changed kind of the way that you play or formation or anything since the qualification, since you got the new coach?
The formation is the same. However, the approach is a bit different, where with the former coach we were very defensive and playing not to lose. And now we still got the core defensive unit, but we're trying to play more possession and a bit more attacking football.
Interesting. So I guess, was that during the Nations League and the World Cup qualifiers, was that with the new coach?
I can't remember the time. Yeah, it has to be. Yeah, it was after the postponed Euros last year that they switched, or his contract ended.
Okay, so then how have you guys done recently then in the Nations League and the World Cup qualifying with your new coach? What kind of has changed with the side, and how have you done?
We've had a few changes in personnel, but the core of the team is still the same. We have some youth coming up, and then some normal changes when a new coach come in. But the World Cup qualification, we've absolutely smashed it so far. We have 3 wins of 3 and have a 14-0 goal score.
Wow! So you're coming into the tournament in good form. Then who did you play? Was it the lower sides or was it one of the tougher opponents?
We started off by beating Israel. I think it was 2-0, and then we beat, was it Moldova?
Yeah.
We beat 8-0, and then
Wow.
we thrashed Austria away 4-0.
Well, and Austria and Israel, they're not rubbish sides. They're decent sides.
I think they missed a few of the key players, but yeah, we had a second half where we absolutely overran them.
Okay. So with this new, I guess, personnel that you're bringing in from the new coach, What would you say are the strengths and weaknesses of this Danish side?
It's a more overall it's becoming a more technical side, possession-based football with technical players, and before that we had more like it was more physics, physical attributes that were in in the primary way of we played. But in terms of tactics, it's the same 4-3-3 with the same core up through the middle. We have a few changes on the left and the right back, and then the rest is basically the same.
Okay, so let's talk about the main players then for this Danish side, not necessarily from a fantasy perspective, but from an in real life football perspective. Who's been really important and been scoring those goals in those recent games, and not necessarily goals, but in general, who's, I guess, brought to the front in this new formation?
Our goalie Schmeichel is an obvious pick, and in front of him we have the captain Simon Kjær, and then obviously Eriksen as the pivotal point of attack. That's like the main core of what is regarded as the best players. Then we have Højbjerg, from Spurs, and then Delaney in Dortmund, which are two hardworking midfielders. Which is really good for balancing the team.
Yeah, I was going to say they must like really complement Eriksen in a way that it kind of gives him very much a free role in that midfield where he can do what he does best and be that playmaker.
Yeah, exactly. He's given the freedom to find spaces and in between lines and in the half spaces, so he can just roam around. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
So who's been scoring the goals for you? Where's the main threat coming from?
It's been the main threat is usually Eriksen. However, we have Josef Poulsen who've been scoring a few but important goals, and then it's been quite spread around with some of the young guys coming in. Damasco and Skov Olsen has been scoring a few goals in the World Cup qualifiers. And I think Eriksen was our top scorer in the Euros qualification, wasn't he?
Yeah,
I believe so. So it's kind of spread around, but we're not really. It sounds ridiculous when we just scored 14-3, but it's not. I'm not expecting us to go on a stampede and just free flowing and scoring during the Euros. It is still the base. The base of the team is still a good core defensive unit.
One person that I haven't heard you mention, but I have seen in a lot of fantasy teams, and I know we're not talking fantasy right now, but
Yeah.
I want to talk about Jonas Wind because a lot of people have been talking about him. Is he new and up and coming, or has he been in the side for a while? Why are a lot of people looking at him? Is he a starter?
He got in around the national side when we changed the coach, and he's a young guy from FC Copenhagen, and he's been scoring quite a few goals in the league. He's young, and he's like not a big guy, but he's quite physical and drops down from the number 9 position and links up very good, very nice. And yeah, he's poised to start, I would say, but he still have some competition from Kasper Dolberg from Nice, and he's more like an out and out box striker or a poacher.
Okay, so do you guys play I think you said 4-3-3, right? So who's your three that you're I assume is it Eriksen, Højbjerg, and Delaney in that middle three?
Yes.
And
exactly.
Then so who's the top three?
That would, if we assume that Wind is going to start, then it would be Braithwaite from Barcelona on the left and Josef Poulsen on the right. However, Skov Olsen from Bologna have been having some great games for us, both as a substitute, and he also has a few starts where he scored a few. So he's the one that's closest to breaking that front three to get the two wingers.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so let's talk about your talisman then, Eriksson. What does he bring to this Danish side? Because we've known him from Spurs and obviously moving to Serie A. Is he coming in to good form at the moment? I'm not sure what kind of season he had. Is he a lot more attacking than he was in the Premier League? What sort of person is he for you guys?
He's absolutely the focal point for our team. His season in Inter has been very much up and down, because when he got there, he was out of the squad for, I think it was almost the entire fall, and then during start 2021 he started to getting into the side and got a crucial goal in I think it was the Milano derby, where he scored from a free kick, and since then he was more often in the side, but he still hasn't played out and out 90 minutes for Inter. So you can say he's coming in fresh to the Euros, and he's also getting the 90 minutes in both our friendlies, I would assume.
Okay.
But he's on free kicks, corners, and penalties. So he's
all three, is he? Wow.
Yeah, I think maybe one of the corners could be taken by one of the fullbacks, Daniel Vaz, plays for Valencia. He's got a good free kick as well. But Eriksson is the out and out taker.
Okay, so let's look at your group then, Morten. What's your thoughts on this group? Do you think that it's an easy group for you guys? How do you see it going?
Looking at the sides, I would absolutely back us to get second. We have 3 home games in Copenhagen, and Finland we absolutely have to beat. Even though he in the earlier part he made it sound like they were really good, which intimidated me a bit.
Yeah,
but
the Finnish rep. Yeah, I think I ended up coming out of that Finland the Finland podcast thinking, oh wow, I have to have Pukki in every single person from that Finnish side.
But I would then say that I read about Pukki having some niggles, small injuries. But should be ready, of course. But yeah, it's from the Danish point of view, we should absolutely beat Finland, and the same with Russia. Obviously, that's a bit more tricky. And then Belgium, I'm not sure there's much to say. I think it's the only team that we've lost to, and twice in the last. I think if we go 5 years back, I think I can count 5 defeats.
Wow.
For our side, and 2 of them were a side containing only players from our league, and 1 was a total amateurs team due to a strike in the Danish Football Association by the players. And then we had the draw against Croatia in World Cup 2018, where we were knocked out in penalties, and then the 2 Belgium defeats. So we don't lose a lot of games.
Well, in general, what's your home form like? Do you think that home advantage, essentially, because it is home advantage, is going to be a massive importance to you, or not really?
I think it will have a massive importance. I know that but I read that the players are really chuffed about getting get to play, on the home side or in the stadium, and just having it's a bit of like a party mindset for the Danish people that we get to host the Euro games. So I think they'll be absolutely buzzing to get a result.
Okay.
I think
just
a quick one on that. I think that yourselves and Russia are kind of fighting for that second spot, and the fact that you've got the home advantage against Russia could be huge in that game, because match day 3, it could all go down to that game.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe we can outperform a little bit and then get a draw against Belgium. Hopefully, De Bruyne is waiting for the last game to enter the tournament. But yeah, I remember when the groups were drawn, there was another draw where the Denmark or Russia would get the home advantage for that game. So everybody in Denmark said, "Oh, yeah, obviously Russia is gonna get that." Um, so yeah, but we got lucky, and now we got 3 home games. So it's of massive importance.
Nice. Rob, have you got any other questions before we talk about fantasy?
No, I think it was just how important that Russia game will be. But that home advantage is huge. We've spoken about
Yeah,
it already with other teams. It's a big thing.
Also, what from other parts and analysis from Danish experts, they don't really rate Russia's team that high. I'm personally not too much don't have too much knowledge about the Russian team, but compared to earlier, yeah, I reckon they have a worse side than we've seen before.
Okay, let's look at fantasy then, Morten. I guess just a couple of questions before we get into some player detail.
Yeah.
Are there any, what we would call in FPL out of position players? So any players that are listed as defenders but play in midfield or vice versa in this Danish side that you would say?
Not directly. Daniel Vaz will be first choice for the right back to start with. However, he plays midfield in Valencia, so he can be utilized further forward if there is a need for rotation in later games.
Okay.
And then then it's worth mentioning if he gets some subs or maybe gets a starting bid at some point, Mikkel Damasco as a midfielder, he would take he will take the left wing when he comes on. But otherwise than that, nothing springs to mind.
And would you say there's any players here from a value point of view that you think are, completely wronged price? So either way too high or way too low?
Yeah, I mean, if you compare the central defenders, our captain, Simon Kjær, that he is $1 million cheaper than Andreas Christensen, that doesn't make any sense. He's not like a Van Dijk danger on a header, but he has more presence on corners and trying to get those headers than Andreas Christensen has. So Kjær is a good option, which a lot of people already have spotted.
That's one thing with this game is they tend to favor the players who are, I guess, well known or in Premier League or well known.
Yeah,
sides.
I think you're right about that. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so let's look at these fantasy options then. So, if I'm looking at buying some Danish players, which players should I be looking at? If you talk us through the main options.
Yeah, we can start in goals. Schmeichel, I think 5.0 is a good price for a defensive, very solid team, and he gets a few saves. Should get a few save points, so he should be a safe option at 5, depending on how much you want to spend in goals. Moving up in front of him, captain Simon, very good value for first choice. Yeah, I'm not.
So 4.5 million.
Yeah, that's a very good price. And then the more unknown Joachim Mæhle is poised to be left back, and he's normally right back but can play both, and he's very offensive. And from the left side, he can cut inside and do underlaps, and he's very attacking. Has a very attacking mindset.
That's interesting because he's 4.5 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, out of the two, if I was going to pick one, who would you prefer?
Absolutely Mæhle, because he's more attacking. Yeah. But I think there is a case of getting both.
Interesting. A double up in the Danish defense, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Go on, carry on.
Yeah. And then we can move on to Talisman Eriksen. A bit, not as, I think it's fair priced as he is the focal point, and on pens and free kicks, which is really good at. he's just gonna be so important for us if we're gonna get a result and get goals. He'll be the creative outlet and having shots and getting in the box. He should be good value for a few goals for the first 3 games or 4.
Am I reading that right, Rob? Is that 56 goals in 107 caps?
No, that's a 30. It's
Yeah.
36.
30. Okay, it's my eyesight. I was thinking 56. Like, wow, that is
1 in 2.
that is some performance.
It's
but
still
even
not bad.
36,
Yeah, 36 is decent.
Yeah.
It's 1 in 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we've spoken a bit about Jonas Wind. I think he'll start. So he's good value for 6.0. I think a thing to mention is he scored, I think it was 15 goals in the Danish Super League, but 9 of them were on pens. And
Okay.
I saw some statistics on him earlier today, and his expected goals isn't that high per game. So that's the downside.
Do you think
so
he's a bit of a trap then?
He could be also because we don't score historically. We don't score a lot of goals, and I think from a fantasy perspective, it's more safe to go with the defenders and goalkeepers. But Eriksen should be good for. He should score a few goals and get an assist. If we're gonna score enough.
It's interesting because you guys play Finland in match day 1, right?
Yeah.
And although the Finnish rep is very confident, the bookies and everyone else is not, with Finland getting kind of anything from that game. And the strategy a lot of people are kind of taking is that essentially they're using match day 1 as a kind of essentially a free hit or a wild card sort of thing, using like a limitless or something else in match day 3. So going with a double Danish defense at 4.5 each, I don't think is a bad option.
I actually think we're the biggest favorite in the game week 1 of all teams.
Yeah.
So I think the strategy of having those two would be perfectly fine. And I think I'm going for 2 out of the 3 defender goalkeeper combination. I haven't decided yet.
And Eriksen?
Yeah, I'm shuffling a bit between him and Jonas Wind to see how to alter my squad a bit.
Do you think the friendlies over the next couple of games will be important for you to decide, which one of those you'd be bringing in, and what would you need to see from those games to decide whether or not which one you bring in?
I think if Jonas Wind doesn't start the next friendly, then I would advise against him.
Okay.
I was gonna say they played Germany last night. We're sitting here on Thursday evening, so Wednesday evening they played Germany, and he started the front 3 of Braithwaite in the middle, Poulsen on the right, and is it Skovalsen on the left. So it'd be interesting if he does that again. You think that then that's the nailed front 3?
I don't think the 3 of them will start against Finland together because Poulsen, Braithwaite, and Skovalsen all have that in common, that they are pacey players, and we probably knew that Germany would be dominating on possession, so he set it up for pace. So that's where when we're going to meet Finland, we're going to expect us to dominate. So we'd rather have an either Win or Dolberg could be a good shout if he starts, because he is the poacher type. But if Win or Dolberg starts the next game, I would consider one of them.
And are there any differentials in this side that are worth looking at as a punt?
It would be Skovalsen. He is close to nudging Poulsen out of the squad. He's been doing that for the qualifiers, the World Cup qualifiers. Getting subs and looking really dangerous. He's a quick winger, technical, quick feet, and a very good left. Yeah, left shot.
The only thing that concerns me, and this is not necessarily directed as kind of the Danish side, it's more in terms of looking at the fantasy options and where they're placed in terms of their position. So wingers generally, you know, like the likes of Mane and Salah in FPL, they're listed as midfielders, and we've seen during some of the podcasts that we've done where teams are playing in a 3, their wingers are sometimes playing up the top, like for example Portugal, Jota, João Felix, Bernardo Silva, they play in a 3. They're all listed as midfielders. So is it a case of we're losing a bit of, I don't know what the right word for it is, but we're not getting as much, I guess, value for money is the word for it?
I think you're losing because you're losing a striker, aren't you?
Forward spot, yeah.
And where you kind of want to fill it with number 9s, effectively, really.
Yeah, so if you see Yusuf Poulsen and Braithwaite listed at forwards at the price at 8 and 7.5, then they wouldn't be value at all, and they don't score that many. They might get to nick 1 each, or just 1 between them, but they're not worth it, and they play on the wings.
So it's either the 2 youngsters or no attackers really from Denmark.
Yeah. I think one more mention, if he'll get the nod at some point, is Robert Skov. He's a bit pricey at 7 million, but he has a killer left foot, and he has a really dangerous free kick as well. And I think if he's on the pitch, I think Eriksen will let him share it a bit with him.
I was going to say, because I don't know how Eriksen would feel about him on free kicks.
But yeah, he won't start the first game. He might get a sub, and then we'll see how the tournament develops. But he's worth to have an eye on, at least.
What are you guys like with set pieces in terms of from corners? Are there any main threats that you have from corners? Are you good at corners?
Good at corners. I don't have any statistics about that.
Not necessarily statistics, but in general, from what you see, kind of, are you guys getting a lot of shots on target generally from corners?
I think we actually have a tendency to play it a bit short, but when Eriksen whips them in, it's either Captain Simon or Delaney, who are the most dangerous headers we have.
Interesting. Okay, Rob, have you got any other questions?
No, I think we've obviously touched on this fact that the wingers are classed as forwards, and it just really, really puts me off them. But I think the big takeaway that I've got from this is Simon Kajaya and Joachim, is it Mahler? We'll go with
Mele,
that. Mele at 4.5 could be crazy value, and I think Mele, like if I go for 2, then I'll go for 2. But yeah, I might go for Mele as a nice 4.5 pick that helps me upgrade my keeper. Because it's just I'm not sure Eriksen even at 9. I think I'd want to see him maybe 8, and I'd probably have him. I think 9 it might be pushing it a little bit, even though he's on all the set pieces and we know that there's that quality there. I'm just wondering whether if he's not scoring and what he's creating is the quality there to finish the chances he creates. Because otherwise, if there's no one finishing those chances he creates, because he is a great playmaker and a great creator, if there's not the right person finishing, he's not going to get any points. So, yeah, I'm just.
I think that's a valid point, because both Poulsen and Braithwaite can be pretty wasteful. Dolberg, if he starts, he's pretty clinical. He's a real danger in the box.
I mean, we know Jonas. Oh, go on.
Yeah, and Jonas Wind, he wonders a bit about outside the box as well. So, yeah.
Because really, with Eriksen, you want that classic number 9. Like we saw it for years with him and Harry Kane.
Yeah.
And like he had always had that target sitting on the penalty spot ready for him. and he could deliver that ball, and it was always finished. It's just if there's no classic number 9 there that's going to sit and do that, then I'm wondering whether 9 million might be a little too much for him, and whether just sticking with, if you want to go with the Denmark double up, just to do the double up on the defenders, because I think you're getting a lot more value out of £9 million worth of defenders from your 2 than you are 9 million on Christian Eriksen.
What's your thoughts on a defensive triple up?
I considered. I have.
Because I'm thinking about it now.
Yeah.
You're convincing me.
I have at one point while tinkering with my squad, I did have Schmeichel, Kjær, and
That's
Mæhle.
the exact 3 that I'm thinking.
Yeah.
14 million
so
on 3 players is peanuts, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. So it's a way to go, especially if you have the chip strategy with limitless and wildcard in game 3.
Interesting. I will seriously. Rob knows that I'm a risk taker when it comes to fantasy. So
you were talking about, like last week, you were talking about captaining the Finnish Mbappe, and now you're going to triple defence against him.
Because Morton's done a better job at convincing me than Nilo did.
Also, we have a home game, so that's
I think
an argument as well.
Homeless is...
I can't believe you've done this to Nilo. Like, just left him in the mud.
So Morton, if for our listeners, who, I guess, if we're going to condense it down, who are the main options then? Is it Kjær, Mæhle, and Eriksen, and maybe Wind if you want a gamble? Is that kind of what you would say? And Schmeichel.
And Schmeichel, and then keep an eye on the next friendly to see whether Dolberg or Wind starts.
Okay. Have you got anything else?
That next friendly is Sunday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sunday against Bosnia.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about or mention that you think is really important to know from a Danish point of view, fantasy or not fantasy related?
I think it's worth to mention that Andreas Cornelius, the forward, he's a tall guy. So if we're chasing and we need to hoof some balls into the box, he will probably be the guy to look on to. And if we get an injury in the center back, I'm pretty certain that Vestergaard is in front of Andersen. I'm not sure why I said Vestergaard in English there. Vestergaard.
Who starts in that back four then? Is it Kjær and
Andreas Christensen? Yeah.
Ahead of Vestergaard, yeah.
Yeah. And then Ves on the right back and Mæhle on the left.
Interesting. I would have thought Vestergaard's a better play than Christensen, personally. I don't know what you think.
Vestergaard, he's obviously a bit taller, more physical. Andreas is he's more like the clever positional player, where we have Simon Kjær to take the physical battles. So I think they complement each other really good. That being said, Vestergaard would be equally as good as Christensen in my mind.
Okay. Rob, anything else to add before we go?
No, I mean, we've spoken about the lineup. That was the main thing for me, was because I think the midfield three kind of picks itself with those three, and then knowing who the front three is, and the defence were the tricky ones. But how far do you think you'll get in this tournament? Like, honestly, do you think, like we've said, that you'd expect them to finish second in the group? Do you think it's a case of get to the round of 16, see who you get, or would you expect the quarterfinals would be like your expectation?
We're at least the minimum expectation is to go through from the group, but I think we're paired up with the Switzerland-Turkey group. If we get second, so assuming Italy wins that group, we get Switzerland-Turkey, which we can beat. And then in the quarters, it's the Holland, Ukraine, Czech Republic, and Scotland, also 4 teams that we can beat, and then we're in the semis.
Yeah, you definitely got the easier side.
Yeah,
avoiding England,
It's a good-
Portugal, Spain.
I mean, England.
As long as you don't win the group.
You haven't scored against us in the last 2.
Oh, here we go. Here's the back. Right.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
this is when you go and shock everyone. You go and win the group, and then you can come and join us.
Yeah. I think we'll be happy to get seconds and then a bit easier draw.
Morten, thank you so much for joining. We both really appreciate it, and I'm sure the listeners will too. So, know, thank you very much for bringing your knowledge.
Yeah, thank you. It was good fun.
To the listeners, thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe, and look out for our next installment. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Thanks, guys.